G'day guys and gal. A big part of being a YouTuber who likes to actually get views is making relevant content that a wide plethora of people can enjoy. So let's look at the checkbox. Warhammer lore, check. Star Wars lore, check. Beloved character from both Star Wars and Warhammer facing off, check. And be born in Australia, check. I don't know about you chitch, but that's a lot of relevancy ticks right there. Now the original goal behind these versus videos is to get them animated if they're popular enough, but I've quickly realized that finding someone to animate the Space Marine vs Doomslayer video was a bit of a fluke, as A, the animators already have their own YouTube channels and would rather just post their own content there, or B, they are professional animators that cost $1 bazillion, or C, they're just not that good. I've been trying to track down an animator for Vader vs Space Marine for a little while now with no luck. So if you're an animator, could be 3D, 8-bit or hectic anime, and you want to earn some dollary dues and have your work seen by hundreds of thousands of people, then hit me up on my Discord. Now, I can already feel a lot of 40k fans having the old autistic screech that I would even consider the Mandalorian as an interesting matchup against an Astartes, but hear me out. Mando is a very resourceful guy with a very diverse set of weaponry skills and badassery. After all, the Mandalorians were pretty much the only civilization that could stand up to the Jedi, and their armor is lightsaber proof. Considering a lightsaber could be well over 10,000 degrees Celsius, which for you American cavemen that cling to Fahrenheit like it's your cousin from Alabama, is very, very hot. Today we'll discuss the strengths and weaknesses in detail of both the Mandalorian and a Space Marine. We'll then compare their power, speed, agility, intelligence, and special abilities before throwing them into a hypothetical battle against each other to see who would come out on top. As always, if this video does well and gets a shitload of views and likes, then I'll try to commission an animator to bring it to life. Just like I did with Space Marine vs Doomslayer. Let's get into it. Starting us off with everyone's favourite space Latino, we have the Mandalorian. Now Mando starts off the series as a bit of a low-level gear pleb, who hunted easy bounties for easy money, hence we'll be using the more modded and geared up Mando with his snazzy Beskar armor and deadly gadgets. I'll also be including Baby Yoda as a part of his arsenal cause fuck you, it's my video, I can do what I want. I'm going to take this a step further and predict that Mando will claim the Darksaber in future episodes, so for this fight he'll get that too. Trust me, he'll need it. In terms of strength, Mandalorians are pretty much just basic humans. Sure, they are a warrior class of people and often train from the day they can walk to the day they inevitably die in battle, but they aren't superhuman. So using the averages of a super fit athlete man, we can say that Mando's lifting weight is about 120 to 150 kilograms, and his sprinting speed would be about 35 to 40 kilometers per hour. So in a bodybuilding competition against a Space Marine, Mando would be screwed. Fortunately for Mando, people don't kill each other by benching more than them or flexing harder, so not all is lost. A huge advantage Pedro has is his Beskar armor, which very well could be stronger than the Ceramite armor of a Space Marine. Beskar armor is an extremely durable and heat-resistant metal alloy that can block lasers and even lightsabers. The best part is that it doesn't just take the bite out of the heat, it completely nullifies the weapon. When Mando is shot with blasters, he barely staggers or recoils. He just tanks it without really noticing. Even in his brief fight with Ahsoka Tano, a legendary Grey Jedi, a double lightsaber force-empowered hit is blocked in its tracks by Mando's Beskar gauntlets. That blow would have a huge amount of force behind it, and also gives credit to Mando's incredible reflexes that he was able to have enough time to block the surprise attack. But yeah, he didn't even stumble and barely recoiled from those attacks. The big question, however, is how does it match up to ballistics and non-heat related force? After all, an Astartes doesn't use a lasgun, he uses a bolter. Well, this question is not as clear because no one in Star Wars uses ballistic weapons. However, Mando gets punched a lot, and a lot of the people who punch Mando end up with very sore hands. He eats the fist of cranky buff aliens on the daily, and in season 2 of The Mandalorian, he even headbutts an oncoming punch to break the assailant's hand, and he takes no damage, whilst metal weapons barely do anything as well. Keeping in mind that the people punching him are aliens and are likely a lot stronger than humans, considering the alien was able to punch Mando a number of times before his hand broke. If I punched a normal metal helmet, let alone a Beskar one, with my bare hand, I'm sure it wouldn't take 4 or 5 punches to ruin my ability to jerk off. From this we can easily say that the Mando's armor is bulletproof, but will that be enough? Onto his weapons, the Mando shines here with a huge arsenal of weapons and gadgets, including a jetpack. Nice. He uses a blaster pistol sidearm as well as a sniper rifle with disintegration rounds. The bullets would rupture your atomic structure and break you down particle by particle, so pretty much a Necron Gauss rifle. Not ideal. They were actually banned by the Rebel Alliance and the Galactic Empire because using one was akin to committing war crimes. Hell yeah. As an ace up his sleeve, Mando also has the Whistling Bird, which was a bunch of small homing rockets made of Beskar that he could use in a pinch, like a bunch of little Yondu arrows, except instead of penetrating their enemy then finding a new one, they would penetrate their enemy and then explode. His gauntlets also contained flamethrowers, which is pretty neat, as well as a grappling hook. For melee, he had a vibro knife, which while it sounds like an edgy pleasure toy, is actually a durable blade which could vibrate really fast, allowing it to cut through metal and other hard materials. So yeah, I guess it really was an edgy pleasure toy. Finally, Mando also picked up a Beskar staff, which is actually quite an OP weapon when you remember how insane Beskar is. Finally, what are Mando's skills? Having tough armor and cool gadgets is not enough to take down an Astartes. However, Mando's skills might just push him over the edge. He's been training in the art of combat since he was a child, and he was even raised by an extremist cult variation of the Mandalorians. Even in the first episode of The Mandalorian, he was able to take out a group of big scary criminals with just his fists, and as the series goes on, we witness him murder scores of trained enemies with extreme accurate shots from both his pistol and rifle. He always looks to use his full arsenal of weapons in every fight, and he is able to turn the environment as well as his own enemies' weapons against themselves. He shows no fear in combat, and his perseverance is legendary. But will it be enough? Onto the Space Marine. First we'll go over the power of a Space Marine. The numbers from my other versus videos for the Space Marines have not changed, hence the low libido roid monsters come in at a massive 8 to 10 feet tall in armor and weigh about half a ton. Their power matches their huge frames as well, being able to lift over 6 tons without too much effort. Now unfortunately, actually quite fortunately, the universe of 40k doesn't have power level readers, which means there is a little bit of inconsistency between GW writers on the true strength of a Space Marine. So if we ignore the dumb fuckers who confuse Warhammer 40k with Dragon Ball Z, it looks like the max lifting weight for a normal Space Marine is about 10 to 15 tons. So now we establish how big, bulky and powerful these dudes are, surely they can't be that fast. Well, they surely are! They are able to maintain a 60km/h run for hours, which is about 4 times faster than an average elite marathon runner, and if they need to, they can get up to 90km/h in short sprints, twice the speed of Usain Bolt. Their agility is crazy as well, able to perceive and then dodge certain firearms, whilst a melee fight between Astartes is said to look like a blur. But I think that blur talk is just GW writers getting a bit too excited. The point is, they fast. Now being big, fast and strong is all well and good, but can they handle a fuck? And by fuck I mean punishment, which depending on how much you loathe your spouse are one and the same thing. Even without their OP armor, a Space Marine has reinforced skin, bones, organs, as well as 2 hearts. Then once you put the Cermite armor on, however, it becomes even more difficult to put these boys down. Cermite is an extremely strong ceramic material. Now, baseline ceramics are known for their ability to handle heat, so when you get futuristic Cermite, a Space Marine's armor can handle a serious sauna. They're also incredibly resistant to ballistic damage, as the armor absorbs impact and spreads the force around the body. Only the sharpest of weapons with the right force or an overwhelming amount of caliber could hope to penetrate a Space Marine. In terms of weapons, the Space Marine in this fight will come with a bolter gun, power sword, plasma pistol, frag grenades, as well as a combat knife. All those weapons are pretty self-explanatory, but as your fun fact of the day, the tip of a Space Marine's combat knife has the sharpness of a single atom. So yeah, if you ever wanted a superior butter knife, then there you go. Finally, Space Marines are functionally immortal, allowing them to live for thousands of years. During those years, they are constantly training against a huge variety of different enemies. Hundreds of years of experience combined with genius-level intelligence and extremely rapid thought process makes an Astartes a deadly tactician and a one-man army. So now we've measured their strengths, skills, and armory, it's time to pit them against each other in a not death battle, because that would be copyright. Also, the Space Marine will be an Ultramarine because we need something generic for consistency reasons. To set the scene, Mando and Baby Yoda are on a backwater planet doing bounty hunter stuff and just chillin'. An Ultramarine in the 40k universe is in combat with some Titsnitchian demons and is hit with a bit of a warp spaghetti, transporting him across time, space and reality to land on the same backwater planet. He is confused upon arrival but unharmed. The light from his portal attracts the attention of some of the alien natives on the planet who go to investigate and are promptly massacred due to the extreme xenophobia exhibited in Warhammer as opposed to Star Wars. Word quickly spreads of a giant blue killing machine that just slaughtered some of the natives, hence good guy Mando takes Baby Yoda and goes to investigate. His scanners pick up the presence of the Ultramarine nearby, so he places Baby Yoda in a safe spot and draws his rifle. The Ultramarine comes into view, and as he lines up his shot, the Ultramarine's extreme perception and own scanners reveal the Mando to him. Within a heartbeat, the Ultramarine bolter gun is drawn, and he begins firing precise shots at the Mando's position. Mando is barely able to roll behind cover as the explosive shots land around him. Using his wrist-mounted grappling gun, Mando is able to quickly latch onto a nearby mound and pull himself across cover without the Ultramarine being able to see him, due to how hilly and forested the terrain is. In a new position, the Mando is able to take aim and fire his rifle, the first shot striking the Ultramarine in the shoulder. His ceramite armor spread the force of the bullet across the rest of his armor, however the disintegration rounds do a number with the top layer of the Ultramarine's armor being atomized. "Necron!" the Ultramarine hisses. He runs to cover as another disintegration shot flies just past him. Mando has the Ultramarine pinned behind cover. The Ultramarine takes in his surroundings, then quickly and masterfully lobs a grenade above his head, with the projection taking the grenade straight to Mando. Mando sees the nade coming and runs, using his jetpack to boost his speed. The explosion is huge, but Mando is able to avoid it. With that distraction, the Ultramarine begins charging the Mando's new position, firing off his bolter gun to keep Mando pinned. Mando drops his sniper rifle and pulls out his Beskar staff, as the Ultramarine drops his bolter gun and pulls out his power sword. Mando stands up to his feet and holds the staff defensively with both hands over his head, just as the power sword comes crashing down. The impact jars Mando's arms, but with the Beskar staff's extreme durability and absorption, he is able to successfully block the strike, much to the Ultramarine's surprise. The Ultramarine removes the sword from the clash and begins swinging at Mando. His masterful, deliberate strokes are met by the Mando's desperate and taxing blocks and parries, as Mando is forced back, his arms rapidly tiring as the Beskar rings out with each clash. The Ultramarine swings overhead again. Mando is once again able to block it, but is forced to one knee as the force of the block is felt through his whole body. The power sword edges closer to Mando's head, as the strength difference between the two warriors becomes very apparent, even with the power of the Beskar staff. As the power sword is inches away from his head, Mando activates both wrist flamethrowers that send a torrent of extreme heat straight into the Ultramarine's armoured face. The Ceramite is able to block the heat, however the flames obscure the Ultramarine's vision and surprised him. Mando disengages from the sword lock and ducks a wild blind swing by the Ultramarine. In a counter to the swing, Mando drives the sharp shaft of the staff into the Ultramarine's midsection, piercing the Ceramite and stabbing the flesh. However, not deep enough to cause serious damage. With his free hand, the Ultramarine punches Mando in the chest and sends him flying off his feet. Mando crashes into a ditch, but before the Ultramarine can draw his plasma pistol, Mando raises his arm and lets off his whistling bird launcher. The projectiles lock onto the joints in the Space Marine's armor and stab into them before detonating their micro but deadly payload. The Ultramarine staggers as his body tenses up, but he quickly recovers and draws his plasma pistol. He fires it at Mando, who is able to activate his jetpack in time and fly above the projectile's impact. Mando opens fire with his blaster, but is shocked to see the Ultramarine entering a full sprint at him as the blaster shots bounce harmlessly off the big blue boy. Before Mando can ascend further with his jetpack, the Ultramarine leaps and grabs a hold of his leg before swinging him down hard on the ground. The Ultramarine begins to drag Mando towards him, but Mando pulls out his vibro knife and stabs through the Ultramarine's wrist plate and cuts through bone and sinew in a sickening crunch. The Ultramarine's hand involuntarily opens, but before Mando can fully stand up, the Ultramarine cracks him with a fat hook to the head, knocking Mando to the ground and dazing him heavily. The Ultramarine slowly gets up, the damage to his joints giving him a lot of pain as he walks over to his power sword and picks it up. He approaches the defenseless Mando and raises the killing blow over his head, but before he can swing down, he feels his body lock up by an unseen force. His body shakes as he uses immense effort to turn his head to see a small green Xeno using its foul psycho powers on him. Purge! The Ultramarine yells, as he painstakingly turns his body and begins to take small agonizing steps towards the Xeno. The creature's telekinetic powers making each step a small victory for the Ultramarine as he struggles to close the gap. Eventually, he's only a meter away from the Xenos as the Xenos sweats in concentration. Finally, the creature gives up, drained of energy. As the unseen force gripping the Ultramarine dissipates, he wastes no time in slamming his fist through the skull of the Xenos in a satisfying crunch. No! He hears from behind him. Mando stands there, shaking in rage at seeing his companion, the one he was sworn to protect, as a mess of green blood and shattered bone. Mando begins sprinting at the Ultramarine, who scoffs at the poor tactical decision of the inferior being running at him. He puts the power sword in his non-preferred hand, due to the extensive damage done to the bones and nerves in his primary hand from Mando's vibro knife. The Ultramarine swings his sword, intending to bisect Mando, but Mando anticipates this. He drops to his knees and slides under the blow. As he passes the Ultramarine, he activates the Darksaber and cuts through the Ultramarine's hip. He quickly rises to his feet and begins to unleash a flurry of blows driven by loss, revenge, and hatred. Surprised by Mando's ferocity, as well as using his offhand, as well as his joints all being damaged, the Ultramarine is unable to keep up with the Mando, with 1 in every 3 attacks from the Mando getting past the Ultramarine's guard and striking him. Most were stopped by his thick armor, but some were able to penetrate through and sizzle his flesh. The Mandalorian showed no signs of stopping or tiring as he took chunks out of his hated foe. After a few more strikes, Mando swings the Ultramarine's sword hand, slicing through his wrist and removing the hand from his arm. He follows it up with a straight stab that pierces the Ultramarine's heart. His secondary heart. Mando holds the blade in the Ultramarine for a second, tasting victory, but Space Marines have 2 hearts. The Ultramarine, using his remaining hand, pulls his combat knife free and stabs it straight into the gap underneath the Mando's breastplate. Mando sharply draws in a breath as the knife tears through him. In the same instant, the Ultramarine removes the knife and stabs it into Mando's unarmored neck, pulling it out and in again. Mando staggers back, choking on his own blood as he feebly claws at his neck. The choking lasts a few more moments before he falls onto his back, dead. The Ultramarine, seeing the damage to his body inflicted by what he now sees as just a man, is a bit embarrassed by the whole affair and begins to wonder how he will get home. So there you have it, an Ultramarine 9 times out of 10 would beat the Mandalorian. In this fight, I gave Mando all the advantages. He landed a shot with his rifle, didn't get directly hit with a bolter or plasma gun, and used his entire arsenal to great effect, but he still couldn't get the win. To his credit though, the disintegration rounds as well as the Darksaber were both capable to kill a Space Marine, but it's unlikely that a man, no matter how Latino he is, would be able to pull it off. I hope I did make the point here that he did put up a good fight, and it would be a great matchup, and it would be really entertaining to watch or, see animated. But the Space Marines' experience, durability, and power overcame the Mando's tenacity. Like I said guys, if you want to see this animated like Doomslayer vs Astartes in any animation style, then like and share the video. Or if you're an animator yourself, then hit me up. And that does us for today guys. Could the Mandalorian beat a Space Marine? If you enjoyed the video and want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where only $1 per month gives you access to a boatload of Warhammer hentai. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more Mando content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.